Today, we're going to take a look at what's new in horror. Steam had its summer NextFest. I'm excited to go over 8 new demos that you should probably check out. I'll be ranking the games I played, so let's get started. Number 8, Black Dog. Black Dog is a dark-themed pixel art game of exploration, where you will have to find clues and solve puzzles to move forward in the story. The game starts out in a mansion, and Ophelia and Amelia are going to bed, and her twin sister asks Ophelia for a story. They both fall into a nightmare parallel of their own home, when suddenly it looks like Amelia dies. Ophelia wakes up, thankful as a nightmare, only to discover Amelia is missing. Ophelia ventures further into different areas of this parallel universe of their home, solving puzzles in order to find her sister. She meets new characters and discovers how far these secrets will go. What I liked about the game is I thought that the graphics and the dialogue piqued my interest. It reminded me of a game I had played recently called Franbo, both using childlike innocence to depict different horror themes. I thought the pastel goth color palette influence and the eeriness of the art is what drew me initially to the game. However, this demo ranks the lowest for me. There were different issues that I just couldn't get past. I had an audio bug as well as some formatting issues, and there was some unclear direction for what to do or how to solve the puzzles that were presented. I unfortunately wasn't able to get the audio to load for the game, program bugging out each time I tried to open it, but I did get to hear the music from the Steam trailer, and I wish I had that in the game. I wish I had gotten to listen to it because it was absolutely beautiful. Trying to format full screen proved an interesting task. There wasn't an option in the game's menu initially to optimize your settings. You were only able to adjust things after the prologue. The puzzles, in my opinion, I had a hard time figuring out what to do or where to go, and because of this frustration, I ended up ending the demo early. With the game being a point and click game, I found myself clicking on what felt like every single object to no avail. I'm sure I missed something, but to a new or beginner player, this game felt like pulling my hair out, trying to figure out what to do next. I would have really loved more of this game if I felt like the controls and the directions were a bit more finite. Number 7, Fire in the Dark. Fire in the Dark is a psychological meta horror where the eerie game on the heroine's computer and her room merge into one world, revealing each trauma through your actions. I played through the first chapter, The Lost Friend. We started out with the heroine in the mirror. She receives a game cartridge and uploads it to her computer. Before playing the game, she has to download the proper graphics driver. Once she does, she's sucked into the game. We meet a knight who wants us to understand ourselves. There are items we must find that holds the key to that memory. We are to find them, bring them back to the knight, and burn them. In the first chapter, that's a ball and a dog collar. The two worlds are intertwined. Her actions in the game directly influence each other. This chapter related the heroine's psychological trauma connected to her dog. The puzzles in the game require exploration of both worlds since they are connected. We meet with a nightmare creature that calls themselves Friend. They ask us to bring a cassette tape to them from the actual world. For what purpose? Who knows? Once finding the items, you relive the memory of playing with your dog until it distorts at the end, and the demo ends there. What I liked about the game was the overall theme of uncovering and healing from your trauma. Diving into the game world, I like how the graphics progressively got clearer the more you remembered. That being said though, a fault I did have were the game's graphics sometimes. Moving through the expanse of the forest and trying to find these items, I quickly got lost a lot. I wish there was a point on the map that was provided where it let you know where you were in the forest. I understand the overarching theme of the game becoming more clear the more you remember. However, it just felt difficult to try and navigate and really figure out where I was. Other than that, I liked the game fair enough, but the gameplay wasn't that memorable for me to rank it any higher. Number 6, No, I'm Not Human. No, I'm Not Human is a horror survival game built on trust. But who can you believe? Set in an apocalyptic, soon-to-be wasteland, your enemy is the sun and your friends. Your goal? Only let humans in. Eliminate all visitors. A game where who you think is not what it seems. A game all about survival and trust, and there isn't a lot of both. The game starts out with your neighbor coming over and essentially explaining the tutorial. Your goal each night is to decide who comes in and who doesn't. And what does that mean for your sanity? Are the people you let in really who they say they are? There are side aspects to this game, such as figuring out the secret messages in the radio and checking multiple channels on the TV. The latter I didn't realize you could do until after I finished the game, which I think adds a level of intrigue to figuring out the different clues. Another way to figure out more of what is going on is looking at your windows during the night. Trust me, it makes a difference. The neighbor brings over a case of beer, and drinking one drains your energy so you can fall asleep. This is important because when you wake up, the news broadcaster will let you know what are symptoms of a visitor, and checking the people in your house for those symptoms will cost an energy. Once your energy is depleted, you won't be able to do anything. If you think someone is a visitor, you have an option to put them out of their misery and shoot them. Most don't take it well. The demo lasts 4 to 5 in-game days and ends there. What I liked about the game was the art, hands down. I thought it was super creepy while also portraying the despair and cynicism. I thought the visuals were pretty entertaining. I like the moral dilemma of picking who lives and who dies, because in the beginning you don't really know who's a visitor and who's not. I also really like the game aspect of finding the hidden messages in the radio. While these options are optional, I do feel like it helps add to the game's mystery and lore. What I could see potentially getting boring is the repetition of the gameplay, but if you're somebody who likes a horror survivalist game, I think this would be a fun game to play. It does have a playability where you can replay it and get different guests each time, which I think is really unique, and I'm really glad that the developers added that. I hope we do get to find out what happens to these people. What are visitors? Why are they here? There's a lot of lore and gameplay to discover that I'm anxious to explore, and I'm very intrigued by. Number 5, A Twisted Place. A Twisted Place is another survival horror game on this list. This horror game is described as a 2.5D single-player horror game with multiple chapters that alternates between side view and first-person gameplay for a scarier experience. Find your way through a nightmare unlike anything you've ever experienced before. In this unconventional horror game, you'll have to survive as best as you can while being surrounded by horrors beyond human comprehension. Interact with the environment to solve puzzles and to find tools, information, and secrets. We played through the first chapter with our goal being escaping the house. We're first shown to a shadowy figure who is in an armchair. He invites us in and then taunts us for how little we say, and that is because he has sewn our mouth shut. As a precaution, of course. This sets the tone for the game. We move through the house in this haunting red ambiance, unknowing of what lurks around the corner. You pass by the dining room and there's unknown meat, but it's positioned to look like a turkey, but we can see it's clearly a human with their head chopped off. Cannibalism. The first horror we encounter. With eyes that follow you, shadows that lurk, and humans hung as meat bags, we're in for a treat. You enter a room and a hallway and you gain a key. Now the second key for me was by far harder to find. With no direction, it's up to the player to figure out how much they want to explore, how many horrors they want to unlock. After finding both keys, you seemingly come across the entity you met in the beginning. They're looking for you, they say. We don't know who they is, and frankly, I don't want to know. We cross the room and we're met with a freakishly tall, ghoulish entity that we have to hide from. We then make our way through the house some more, eventually at the end coming to a room with a human. That part is questionable, shaking in fear on the bed as a dark, shadowy hand reaches down, and the demo ends there. This game was by far the scariest demo I've ever played. With different directional changes, this heightens the fear factor and makes turning every corner brings a new horror. I liked how in this horror aspect, our only goal was to hide and explore. Be forewarned, this game can have some pretty disturbing imagery, so make sure to take care of yourself. But if you're looking to be scared, I think this game should definitely be on your list. There's not much to dislike unless jump scares aren't your thing, which I totally get. I had some issues with the puzzles, but I managed to figure them out eventually. Number 4, Antioma. Antioma is about a boy affectionately named Kiddo that has spent most of his life in the hospital. Little does he know what a complicated and fascinating world lies concealed beyond the hospital walls. Today, on Kiddo's birthday, his mom wasn't around. Instead of her, the boy met Shadow, who inspired him to escape from the hospital. This childlike horror demo is a point-and-click adventure about listening to the voice, or shadow, in your head. Escape doctors, and most importantly, adults, because they don't understand. How could they? This kid needs his mom. We start out with Kiddo waking up and his nurse letting him know that it will be her last day working there. We are a bit sad by this, but since it's our birthday and mom is coming to visit, we quickly move on. We meet up with our friends in the canteen and they give us some fruit as a gift. We wait on the waiting couch for mom to come, but she never does. We head back to our room and the darkness takes over, and that's where we meet Shadow. This figure wants us to escape so we can really find our mom. We ask our friends for suggestions on how to leave, and this is when the game turns sinister. After failing to hurt ourselves enough to gain pity from the doctors, our friends tell us the only way out is to have a tag on your toe. We know what this really means. Death. However, Kiddo doesn't realize that, and through leaps and bounds and puzzles, he makes his way down to the basement to makeshift his own toe tag so he can escape. Before he does that, he meets a kid in the elevator and passes out. We land in this bloody alternate world where there is a wolf trying to kill him. He solves the puzzle, escapes, and wakes up just in time to reach the basement. After some more puzzles and hiding from the doctors, we are on our way to getting out of the hospital. Soon, we've escaped and the demo ends there. Will we find our mom? I can't wait to find out. I had such a fun time playing this game. The art was really cool, and the childlike wonder behind some of the more sinister spoken thoughts really left me wondering what else this game had in store. I also get to play with a garbage rat, so honestly, 10 out of 10 game for me, personally. Some of the dialogue between other characters felt a little one note at times, but other than that, I'm excited to play this game when it comes out. Okay, now time for my top 3 games. I am so excited for all of them. I wish list every single one and I cannot wait to play them. So let's get into my top 3 demos for Steam Summer Next Fest. Number 3, Death Howl. Death Howl weaves an atmospheric tale of grief, healing, and resilience. As Ro, you'll face relentless spirits in turn-based battles that challenge your tactical sense and adaptability. To succeed, you must craft and master decks of powerful cards and use shamanic totems while unearthing forgotten tales and secrets that shape Ro's path. Ro is a hunter from a small tribe and is overcome with grief from the loss of her son. Guided by voices of a different world, she transcends the realms in search of her son in hopes of bringing him back. This game opens up in 6000 Scandinavian BCE, where we see Ro grieve and mourn the death of her son. She enters the spirit realm in search of him. Her son, Olvi, turns into a spirit, a deer, and runs off. We must journey over the expanse of the map, engage in grid-like combat in order to find Olvi. Journeying through the forest, we come across a dead moose and a rock formation. Activating this rock formation clears a rest spot that resets our health, and in the process, resurrects the moose. When you rest, it revives every creature in the spirit world, good and bad. The moose tells her nothing is what it seems. With that in mind, we venture onward. Over the course of the demo, I won, I lost, and I really felt like I was beating a Souls game. We come to the edge of the map, a bridge, and we see deer spirit Olvi. the bridge breaks and Olvi runs off. Ro is devastated, and the moose is back again to comfort us. The moose lets us know Olvi is passing on through the spirit realm to the realm of death. He offers his help to get her across, but admits he doesn't have the power to help her get her son back. But the great spirits might be able to help. The moose explains the lore of the great spirits and how we must unlock them at each portion of the map. Ro accepts this quest, and the moose lays a path for her to continue to the next realm, and that was the end of my time playing. I didn't get to finish the demo due to time constraints, but even without finishing, I knew this game would be pretty high on my list. Oh wow, where to begin with this one? I don't usually gravitate towards turn-based games, but I love strategy games, and this felt like playing a Scandinavian chess game filled with folklore, and honestly, that's kind of up my alley. This game is described as Souls-like, and I would have to agree. This game makes you strategize even resting and gaining back your health. It's important to find multiple rest spots so you don't have to undo all the progress you've made. I really admire the beauty of this game. The pixel art is minimal at times, but incredibly gorgeous. I'm in love with the color palette, and I'm in love with a lot of the design choices that were made for this game. I'm intrigued and excited to play more, and I hope it comes out soon. There's not a lot that I don't like about this game. The thing that challenged me the most is probably the grid combat. It wasn't something I'm usually used to in a lot of my games, but I had fun trying to figure out where to go next and which cards exactly to play. Number 2, Find Eden. In Find Eden, we play as Timmy, who is whisked into a mysterious cat realm invaded by monsters. Journey through enchanting realms, solve puzzles, and harness new abilities to save this world, and maybe your own. In a cozy, dark, and hand-drawn 2D adventure full of secrets and quirky cats, we collect talismans, defeat evil snails, and hide from big, foreboding monsters. We meet Timmy laying down in a beautiful field. He heads back to his cozy home. He's able to check on his plants, read a little, and stargaze. A very cute intro. However, Timmy wakes up in the middle of the night to a crash. He goes downstairs, and what does he find? A cat who has stolen his food. He races after the fiend, only to find himself in a completely different world. A conversation with the intruder leaves him helpless, and the cat runs off into a hole into a very large tree. Timmy is stuck trying to find his way back. He meets a cat in a smaller tree, saves him from the evil snail, and then lets him know there's a way to get inside the tree, but from the top, where there are a multitude of obstacles. He makes his way to the top and enters the tree. He meets with the special cast and learns of a quest. Both characters have to travel to different realms in order to save their worlds, and that is where the demo ends. My absolute favorite thing about the game was definitely the art. It reminds me a little bit of Hollow Knight, all drawn by one person, which is really freaking cool. I enjoy getting to talk to the cats and potentially befriending one. And who doesn't want to play an eerie game where you get to talk to cats? I don't know, not me. I want to play it. I loved the soundtrack so much. It's probably my favorite soundtrack out of all the demos. I thought it was really beautiful and haunting. One of my favorite parts were the amount of cat facts and also facts about the demo itself throughout the game. This game is one of my tops, and I definitely can't wait to play.
Welcome to Giggleland! I'm Elliot. And I'm Ella. And we're happy you're here. But before you head into the park, there are some rules you must know first. There's rules? I thought this place was fun. It is fun, Ella, but you can't have fun if you're not being safe. Rule number 1, stay out of areas you cannot enter. If you see this sign, that means you have to stay away. Oh, but what if I want to know what's inside? Rule number 2, you must be the appropriate height to ride the rides. If your head doesn't reach the arm, that means you can't ride. That's not fair! Remember, this is for your safety, Ella. Rule number 3, if there's a hat in the park, follow the exit signs and get out. Hey, what happened to the lights? Rule number 4. Elliot, what's going on? Don't be afraid. There's no reason to fear us. Elliot! Rule number 5. If you feel a panic setting in, remember to take deep breaths. Someone stop him! Please, Elliot, stop! Rule number 6. Don't close your eyes, or you'll miss the best part.
Number 1, Giggleland. Giggleland is a new mascot horror game that features Tully on her very special day at the park to find her missing father. You start out entering the theme park and immediately are met with interacting with the diorama that's on display. Over the first part, you are tasked with finding items that complete the diorama per Elliot the cat's request. Over time, the park will start to look a bit creepy. Disturbing people hand in hand decorated across the walls, cardboard cutouts falling over mysteriously, and a trail of blood leading to the pig's food supply. There are messages on the wall that are vague but distressing. He holds the child's hand and brings him to the sleepy garden. Uncle, where are we going? He struck the disobedient claws that aim to stop his fate. I've done wrong and I must atone. He holds up his hands and prepares for the final act. You are going to the forest and will awaken anew. So there seems to be some kind of ritual Elliot may be preparing us for. With the diorama complete, the park shuts down into darkness and you have to find the secret staff exit to escape. You go back down to the pig feeding area and whatever was in that big box is missing. As you escape through the ventilation, there are messages written on the walls. You're beginning to suspect maybe your father's disappearance wasn't an accident, and at this point, you really want to punt Elliot off a cliff. You find typed up entries from your father about his interactions with Terry, and most of them are weird to say the least. In the middle of trying to escape, the announcer, Elliot, if they're even the same person, takes a screenshot of you, which adds a new level of fear that breaks the fourth wall. You enter a room that looks like a crime scene investigation. The photos on the wall, they are your friend's profile pictures on Steam, your computer background, your apps that you have currently open in the game, which I didn't even know that happened until I went back and checked the footage. You shut down the computer and eventually find yourself back in the ventilation system trying to escape. You come across a classified research report with a lot of information blocked out. You come out to a warehouse unit and suddenly you're in a bag and Elliot the cat is closing the door on your escape and the demo ends there. This game. Wow. It was the first one I played because I saw the trailer and I immediately knew I had to play this game. There was almost no music, which just added to the insanely creepy factor and made every bump, everything that fell over, amplify the horror 10 times. The animatronic animals, freaky. The way I was constantly on the edge of my seat the whole time waiting for the other shoe to drop. This game even stimulated shutting down my PC, which is kind of insane, and it did make me freak out just a little bit. It had OBS, Steam, the game, Discord, and even Chrome, which are all tabs I had open. I don't know. It freaked me out though. The puzzles were challenging enough to figure out without feeling like I was lost, which I really appreciated because I love a puzzle, but I'm not always the greatest at them. And while this still follows a lot of the similar childlike mascot horror trope, I'm intrigued to see how scary a vegetable farm and a couple of talking cats could really be. Those are the 8 horror demos that I got to play for Steam's Summer NextFest. Which games caught your eye? And which ones will you add to your wish list? I'll have all games linked in the description. You can find me live on Twitch most days, yapping my way through first playthroughs or challenge runs of The Last of Us. And if you enjoyed the video, consider subscribing and comment down below which game you're most excited to check out.